Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to talk about hypertrophy or the muscle building process and why it involves more than one variable and why you should care. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, check out the link below. Come on over, submit your questions. The best questions I turn into videos just like this. All right, so I made a video about rep ranges, comparing 5 and 10 rep sets and whatnot, and I received a lot of comments from people, and what you could glean from these comments is that people will look at one study regarding muscle building, and they could get this from one source, one guru, one expert, or whatever, and they tend to quantify or put the muscle building process into one little box, meaning they tend to believe that there's only one aspect or one important variable in training that impacts the muscle building process. Well, what do I mean? Well, they could look at one study on rep ranges and they could say, well, this rep range looks most optimal for muscle building, therefore this is the only variable. So in looking at rep ranges, comparing 5 to 10 rep sets, there was a study that was referenced, and it's not important here because that's not what this video is about. But people, you could tell people would take one single variable, and pretend or start to believe that it was the only variable that mattered when it came to hypertrophy. That is simply not true. There are many, many variables that impact hypertrophy. When you are training at about 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max or about 5 rep sets, you are recruiting a maximal amount of muscle fibers. This is physiological reality. When you get yourself under heavy weight, your body recruits a maximal amount of muscle fibers. Because of this, people sometimes go on the internet and proclaim that because this is reality, that this is the most optimal or the only way or the only variable that causes muscle building or hypertrophy. It's simply nonsense. You also, the deeper into a set you get, let's say you're using less than 5 rep sets, you're using less than about 82.5 to 85% of your 1 rep max. Let's say you're using 70 or 75% or 65% of your 1 rep max or whatever. The deeper into a set you get, the more muscle fibers you're recruiting. So one of the tenets that I push is to push every set for as many reps as possible, stopping that set when you feel like you might fail on the next rep or when your form starts to break down. So no matter what percentage weight you're using, whether it's 60% of your 1 rep max or 80% of your 1 rep max, you're maximizing muscle fiber recruitment and maximizing the muscle building process. This is also an effective muscle builder. It's not tethered to a certain percentage. It's not tethered to 5 rep sets. It'll work for 5 rep sets. It'll work for any percentage of your 1 rep max. And it'll also teach you to train safely because you're stopping sets when your form breaks down. Outside of this, there are other variables that have been scientifically shown to enhance or to encourage muscle building. Muscle pumps, it's not talked about a lot, but there is some research out there that shows that muscle pumps have an impact on hypertrophy. Sorry, I got confused there for a second on what I was going to say, but there is some research out there that muscle pumps actually can improve hypertrophy or lend themselves to hypertrophy. You also have the aspect of volume. You have the aspect of volume in your training, that overall volume, that's been shown recently, has an impact on the hypertrophy process. So you have all these variables. You can also look into frequency, and that can impact the muscle building process as well. You also have the mental aspect of training, how hard you push yourself. There's also a lot of things that you can't really measure, like the drive of an individual, the head and the heart of an individual. And there's so many possible variables. You can't really measure everything or quantify everything. You can't really compare one individual who might be doing supersets but not doing them with a maximum amount of intensity compared to one guy that's just doing 1 or 2 sets and just destroying them. There's so many possible variables. So my point in making this video is that when you get somebody on the internet a coach or a guru or just some guy that pulls out one study and says, this is a magical study, this is a magical way to build muscle. You have to understand, you have to filter that against reality. The reality is that, yes, 5 rep sets will recruit a maximal amount of muscle fibers out of the gate. That's true. Pushing a set for as many reps as possible will also recruit a maximal amount of muscle fibers. Volume works for hypertrophy. Muscle pumps work for hypertrophy. There's also many other variables that we could factor in or look at. So you have to look at the bigger picture when it comes to hypertrophy and not just boil it down to one magical way or one magical method, because that is simply nonsense. And if you don't believe me, you just need to look at all the lifters, the body of lifters over the decades and decades and how they train. And there appears to be so many different ways to build muscle. It can confuse people. But really, if you're using a good exercise selection, if you're making every set count, which is what I teach, pushing sets for a maximal amount of reps, safe reps, if you're using progressive overload, if you're listening to your body and evolving your training based on needs and your diet's on point, you're going to gain, and this is what I teach, regardless of the program that you use. I also tend to incorporate some pump work at the end of my workout just because of the pump factor, and that pumps specifically might help induce the hypertrophy or muscle building process. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, check out the link below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.